time on Allies or Enemies, we are looking at Viscounts of the West Kingdom and its two expansions, Keeper of the Keys and Gates of Gold. Viscounts of the West Kingdom is designed by Shem Phillips and S.J. Macdonald and is the third part of the West Kingdom trilogy. There is kind of a loose story between the three games, and this one is about Viscounts jostling for political favor during a time of tenuous peace. To do this, you will be building the city, gaining dominance in the castle, and transcribing manuscripts, all while gaining followers. Viscounts is a medium-heavy game with a lot of deck building and resource management, as well as a bit of set collection, all tied to a rondel movement that has a Viscount riding a horse around and around a castle. But how exactly does it play? Let's take a look.
At the start of Viscounts of the West Kingdom, players will have a small deck of cards, a handful of resources, and a man on a horse. Each turn, you will start by sliding your cards to the right and taking the discard action, if there is one, on the removed card, and then playing a new card, which also may have an action or may just have icons. The cost on this card is also the distance you will move this round. Your Viscount has to move the full amount following the arrows around the rondel. When you reach your destination, you take an action. This might be adding followers to the castle, building a building, transcribing a manuscript, or trading for goods. Almost all of these will gain you some kind of bonus. They may also move your virtue and corruption trackers, which basically keep tabs on how well you are liked in the kingdom. When these meet, you will gain either virtue cards, which get you points, or corruption cards, which lose points but can be flipped to get resources. Then you choose whether or not you gain a new follower card, and you draw a card to end your turn. There is a lot more nuance than that, like a lot, but in a nutshell, you just keep doing those steps until either the corruption or virtue deck is depleted, and then everyone adds up all of their castle influence, manuscript sets, buildings, and virtue cards, and the most influential Viscount is named.
There are a lot of moving parts here, and as such, there's a lot of variability. The game is built to kind of influence players to specialize in something, and it's fun to change that something each game. Sometimes you are a builder, gaining icon bonuses from your large guild halls. Sometimes you are collecting manuscripts. Other times you are comboing and comboing and comboing in the castle. And all of this is further influenced by the cards and actions that are available to you throughout the game. The tricky with the base game is that the castle strategy did feel a bit stronger than the others. Not necessarily overwhelmingly, but it certainly felt like the safest bet. Luckily, this has been addressed by the two expansions, both of which buff up the other key paths in the game.
Keeper of the Keys adds a few different bits to the game. The first are the new recessed player boards that stop those virtue markers from sliding about. Next are the new public buildings, which go a long way to helping out a building strategy. These are available on a first-come, first-served basis and are built to replace buildings players have already put on the board. When you replace your building with one of these gray bad boys, you get both a special ability and a nice big bunch of points. The last chunk of this expansion is the headliner, and that is a bundle of chests that you can collect and add to the player slots on your board, and they provide new options that combine with your cards, plus they also earn you some endgame points.
Gates of Gold adds a new kind of card to the game with Outsiders. These are basically end-of-game point cards. They kind of bulk up your deck as they don't have in-game abilities, but they can pay off big. They are gained in a few ways, but the main way is through buying and playing King Order cards. The whole thing is an interesting system that adds a bit of extra mystery to endgame scoring. This expansion also adds new bonus cards for being the first to build a set of either different or identical buildings, and variable castle leader cards that replace the original. It also goes a long way to buffing the manuscript collections with the new manuscript boards that provide optional free actions that are unlocked with various colored manuscripts. They are a bit situational, but can certainly be helpful. And the attached pre-printed manuscript actually goes a long way to boosting your set collection.
Viscounts plays from 1 to 4 players, and we have found that it works especially well at 2, but it is solid at all counts. The key points of interaction are the competition for building spaces, cards, and manuscripts, and of course, the castle. But it is mostly in the castle where the higher counts will feel the most different, as the chaos of bumping and climbing will increase at 3 and 4. But outside of that, the main thing more players will add is more time, and it can get a bit lengthy at higher counts, as turns can be fairly thinky. There's also a solo mode, which may be the best of any Garphill game to date, with 4 different AI boards, each focusing on a different aspect of the game. It's run through a deck of cards that is easy to get the hang of, and acts more like a real player than you might expect. Also, it is pretty challenging.
Shem Phillips games have always been well made, and this is no different. The 3D castle is a terrific centerpiece and does double duty by also holding together the cleverly made variable boards. The resources are also nice, especially the little inkwells, and like all of the West Kingdom games, it is all pulled together by the Mico's art. The Mico's artwork works well throughout the whole series, but it feels that with its sizable decks of cards in this game, it really is his showcase. It is also really cool how a lot of the characters from both Architects and Paladins show up again in this one, creating some nice thematic ties. Also, the expansions add another layer to all of this, especially with those recessed boards.
The West Kingdom trilogy is maybe the best complete trilogy in board games, and this is a terrific last chapter. You do not have to have played the rest of the West Kingdom games first, but if you have played the others, you will find that this one fits right in the middle in a lot of ways. It's heavier than Architects, but a bit lighter than Paladins, more interactive than Paladins, but not quite as social as Architects, and it works fine at both the low and high player counts. Also, while it is a complex game in terms of decision space, once you have your head around a couple of tricky-ish concepts and icons, you won't spend a lot of time in the rulebook. We would, however, suggest picking up the expansions to help level out the various paths. The biggest downside there, however, is that the 2 expansions do kind of feel like they should have come together in one box. This is not a game that you are going to play with new gamers or with your non-gaming family, but if you have gamer friends that can handle a few moving parts and are looking for the next step up from the North Sea trilogy, this is a really terrific game that will be a favorite for a lot of players, with or without the expansions. And that is it. Have you played Viscounts? Have you tried the expansions? Are you excited for the upcoming trilogy? Let us know in the comments, and also please do like and subscribe, and hopefully we will see you all next time for another game.